It's a nice hog. Here we go, baby. Beeline kicker minnow.
Cast right there. Oh, that might go 4, Mike.
There we go. There's the first 5.5 pounder of the morning. Yeah. Hey, what's up, guys? Nick the Informative Fisherman here. And today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I kind of got a head cold here, so bear with me. We're going to be fishing over here in the East Delta. You know, I live in Stockton, so this is an area I fish pretty often. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a little pre-spawn bass fishing. The water temperature now is probably, you know, in that low to mid 50s. I'll give you the exact information here, and I'll tell you how to break that down. When the water temperature starts receiving, you know, that getting up into that range about 57, 58 degrees, you're going to start looking for bedding fish and bass that want to spawn. But right now they're in pre-spawn stages, meaning just outside those flats and little depths, holes, and holding up on those little cliffs and breaks right there, and not quite moving all the way up yet. Sometimes in the middle of the sun, when it gets out a little bit warmer in the middle of the day, you're going to have some fish moving up, start looking around, possibly look for areas to bed. So I already came out here a day or two ago. I fished Calaveras, 14 Mile Slough, the main river. Didn't really find what I was looking for. Probably put up about a 7 1/4 bag. Nothing substantial, but it was basically a pre-fishing day like today would be too. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on out here. So today we're actually launching out of Lewis Park over by downtown Stockton, and we're going to be running up all the way up to Pixley Slough, which is a little bit north of Lincoln Village West Marina, right in that area there. That's pretty known for holding a lot of good pre-spawn fish and spawning fish. Then from there, we're going to work out to Disappointment Slough and White Slough. And I'm going to break down all my baits, how I'm doing it along the way, and hopefully get you guys clued in on a better sense of how to target these fish and how to work the proper baits and what speed and how to develop a pattern this morning. So Lewis Park is right down here at the Lewis Park launch ramp where we launched, and then we're going to run upriver through about the 14 Mile Slough area to get over to Pixley Slough, which is here. Then from Pixley we're going to work back into Disappointment and then work our way back up to White Slough. There's a lot of known big fish in here. I've been getting reports that there's numbers of males up there, but not any huge fish being caught yet. So we're going to try to figure out where the solid numbers are and look for a better consistency of quality fish. All right, let's ride. Water temperature is 52 degrees, and we made it to the back here of Pixley Slough. Now, when the water's this cold, we're just coming off a full moon too, and basically that means usually there's a little feeding activity going on later in the evening or later in the day when you have full moon, but the moon sets not until about another 30 minutes. So there might still be some active feeding this morning. Water temperature's still a little cold, so I'm throwing a Lucky Craft 120 jerkbait right here. The benefit about a jerkbait in the Delta, when it's cold, you could jerk it up right next to that cover, suspend it there, and give them that opportunity to take a crack at it. It's a good cold water bait. Back here right now I have about 3 foot of visibility, which is pretty stained, so I'm using the gold. And the nice part about gold is it shows up pretty well in stained water, and at the same time here in the California Delta we have common carp. So this is one of those match the hatch patterns, and bass do like to eat those carp when they're small like this. So like I was saying about targeting those outer drops, those ledges, those shelves, well, in the Delta we don't have too much of that. Well, we do, but the more obvious thing is the outer weed line. And generally the outer weed line extends usually about, you know, 5 to 10 foot off the bulrush, the toolies out here. So I'm taking this rip bait and I'm trying to put it up right along the edges of it and work it. It's high tide right now, you know, so I can't really see it too well. On low tide, you can see that grass line a lot better and it'll give you a clear edge to work. On high tide, what normally happens in the Delta is the fish will push up and pull into these toolies. And a lot of the males will do that. Some of the females will too if you have good enough depth along the edges here for them to get up in there. But if it's a long trip, they're going to stay on that outer weed line and really not move up with the tide. If you have good depth nearby, they will move back up in there along with males in the middle of the day to get some of that warmth on them. So what I'm looking for this morning is consistent bites, maybe a big bite. I'm going to go to slower presentations if I don't get hit on my bigger presentations. I'm going to swim a jig, I'm going to throw the rip bait, I'm going to drop shot. I'm gonna work in and out of the toolies, work the outer weed line, and I'm gonna show you exactly how to do everything. With this rip bait, I just throw it up in there, and you wanna twitch, twitch, and this is my cadence. I'm doing twitch, twitch, stop, and I'm counting to about 5. Twitch, twitch, stop, you know, counting to about 5, and then I'll do a reel, stop, twitch, twitch, and then let it sit there. I'm so far off the weed line now, there's no reason for me to continue my retrieval, you know, waste time. I want to get right back in there into that hot spot, give it a twitch, twitch, and pause. And on that pause in the colder waters, generally when they're going to tag it, it's usually not on the move. You know, in the middle of the day when the water warms up, a lot of the time those little males will be much more aggressive and they'll tag it on the move. But if you're looking for a bigger bite, make sure you have a good pause in your retrieval cadence, because that is when those bigger females are going to tend to grab it, is on that pause. So I picked up the drop shot. I'm throwing it in there just to see if I can find some active fish. The drop shot will always get bit, even by little males like this. You know, they're always willing to hit the drop shot. And I'm using the little Reaction Innovations fluke. I find on the Delta these things get hit really well. I'm going to straight braid. I have my drop shot set at about 15 inches. Once these fish get more in a spawn mode, I'll drop down to about 8 or 10 inches to keep the worm right in their face, because I know they'll be associated to the bottom. But here's the first little tiny male to start off the morning. All I'm doing is just taking my drop shot, pitching it up there to the edge of the toolies, bringing it in and out, and what I'm trying to do is work the inside of the toolies, the outside of the toolies, and the outer grass line to get a good read on these fish. I still think the bigger fish are going to be on that outer grass line, but the thing is here, like I said earlier, we're sitting over 11 foot of water, and then we have the toolies right here, you know, 8 foot off to our side, which is not a far trip for a female to come up in there and maybe get a, you know, a good meal on a crawdad or ambush a bluegill or eat a carp. It's not very far for them to travel, so they will come up into here. But if you have a slow tapering bank, you really don't want to spend a lot of time fishing too shallow. You want to focus on that outer grass line. For example, if your bank's, you know, 60 foot up in there, from here to there, that female more than likely is not going to be all the way into the back of that 60 foot area. She's going to be in a spot where it goes from 10 foot to 3 foot, you know, just within about a 10 or 15 foot span. They don't have to travel very far. It's cold. They don't want to exert a lot of energy for a meal, but if it's easy enough, they will move up in there because it is easier ambush grounds for them to feed on. Yeah, I even barely felt that little dude pick this up, which isn't good. It's still pretty deep right there, about 4 or 5 foot right off those edges, which is good. So I picked up the red spinnerbait to try to bump some of these toolies to score a reaction strike. I threw the drop shot for about 15 minutes, got that one little dink. Said they don't clearly seem to be feeding, but you can bump a spinnerbait into the toolies and cause them to react. They don't like it when it hits that toolies and then it flitters at them, you know, flutters, bam, bam, bam. They just react and slap it. I mean, it's nothing great, it's another little male, but I'm using the red spinnerbait this time of year because oftentimes the females are associating to crawdads. They want all that calcium in their gut before they start looking to spawn. They get real fat because during the spawn they don't eat, so they thin out. That's why a lot of those post-spawn females you see when guys catch them have the big old heads and those little skinny bellies. They get fat on crawdads ahead of time because they know they're going to go a while without eating. Bump it into the toolies, bring it under the edges like this. So what I'm doing with this spinnerbait right here is there's not too many deep inserts in these toolies, and the whole idea for this reaction strike is for me to get this spinnerbait to run into toolies. What I'll do is I'll throw my line up there, bring it over the top of that little stick down there, and try to get it in as tight to the base of those toolies as I can. This is a real deep ledge right here, so I have a feeling those bigger females are just holding up against it. I hooked one a second ago, probably, I don't know, in between 3 and 5 pounds, and she just popped off right after I hooked her. Kind of caught me off guard for a second there, but she just didn't have it all anyways. But it only came when I thumped the toolie. As soon as it came loose to that toolie, I just seen her just eat it. So I'm gonna be throwing this red spinnerbait a little while longer this morning to see if I can keep them keyed in. You know, that's 2 fish within about 10 minutes on it. One real big one, you know, one barely keeper size. But when I'm getting out and away from everything now with this spinnerbait, I'm just trying to get it back in and start bumping stuff and keep it as close to the cover as I can to score that reaction strike. Right now when I'm throwing a long bank like this and I got all those dead hyacinths and stuff over there, those dead hyacinths really aren't holding the fish. When they're all dead like that, all they do is consume oxygen. There's really no oxygen for them to be had under there. So you kind of want to avoid those and look for those toolie points that stick out. Right here, these are all kind of level across here. There's no real channels, but further up the river, when we were coming in, we seen a lot of big toolie points. So I'm gonna hurry up and get back over there and hit the gas on the trolling motor. Kind of work through here real fast. I just got a big bite. I don't want to completely abandon it. I want to stay in the area. If there's one big fish, there's usually more. But I'm gonna just work through it fast until I get to fish what I want. Since I know they're on a reaction bite deal right now with that spinnerbait, the way the 2 of them just hit recently. So I need to really focus on those clues that I'm getting and try to maximize them before the conditions change throughout the day. Big fish, big fish. Whoa, whoa. Good fish here. Here we go. Wow, taking drag on me. Bass fish here, what the heck? I hear line squeaking here. I think he might be caught in the prop in the back. Dang! Oh no, here he is. He popped off the prop. I gotta shut off the trolling motor. Oh yeah. Here we go. I'm gonna come around the other side of the boat. I'm gonna get him away from these snags. There we go. There's the first 5.5 pounder of the morning. Yeah. A little bit thin still, but a nice big girl. I knew thumping that red spinnerbait into those toolies was gonna get us a huge strike this morning. I knew Pixley is famous for producing some quality fish. There you go, you know, red spinnerbait right on that trailer hook. You always want to use a trailer hook. You see that main spinnerbait hook right there? And I got that trailer hook and I'm using a bait button to keep it on. Not the old, you know, surgical tubing trick. I find the bait button's much more hydrodynamic than that surgical tubing. Sometimes your spinnerbait will run off to the side and things like that, but wow, barely in there. Did you see that? Good thing I kept the tight line. I'll weigh this girl. The other one, unofficially, I'll say is about 1 pound, that other keeper. I'll weigh her and see where we're at and see what type of weight we can put up in here. And if you're gonna compete in a tournament, look at the local numbers. I mean, look at the numbers recently within the last week or two. There's always a tournament going on. And then, you know, see if what you're doing's competitive and get involved, get out there. All these organizations can use the money. They can use the help, have some fun, get to know some guys, go out and catch some big fish. Let's weigh this girl. 5 pounds, 5 ounces. Not bad, yeah, I call it about 5.5 pounds. Well, that works out. Let's revive her. I don't want to touch her gills. And keep her safe here. Don't cause any damage to these big fish's gills like this. Now, all you want to do is basically, you don't want to just throw them right back in. They'll get shell shocked. A lot of the time, you know, you can hold them by the back of their tail, wiggle their head around. If I let her go right now, she's in complete shock. The water's real cold. I want her tail to start kicking before I let her go. I'm gonna move her forward. There, she's biting down on my thumb. That's another good sign. So I'm gonna just pull her forward. And she's swimming straight down and she's good. There we go, guys. First big fish of the morning. Nice safe release. Having a great time out here on the California Delta. Can't ask for much more. I'll break down this spinnerbait a little bit more in depth for you, show you what I'm doing when I'm not bumping cover too. So let's get back on it.
Stay with us, guys, and when we come back, it'll be back to more pre-spawn bass fishing. Hey, what's up, guys? Nick the Informative Fisherman here, and when it comes to spooling up my reels, I choose nothing less than the best, and that's why I use P-line each and every time. Are you fishing the best?
P-line, baby. P-line.
Did you ever wish for an RC boat when you were a kid? And do you have a passion for fishing? Well, guess what? It's time to do them both at the same time. With RCFishingWorld.com's RC Fishing Pole, it's time to be a kid again. So visit www.rcfishingworld.com today. Ever tried pulling a planer board next to your boat when trolling or fishing from a swift current bank? If not, you're missing out on one of the most phenomenal fish catching machines on the market today. With Yellowbird planer boards pulling your lines perpendicular to your boat, you can't help but catch more fish. Find out more by visiting www.yellowbirdproducts.com. Have you been to rustylures.com? Did you know they offer free shipping on anything over $29.99? And with all the latest and greatest in bass fishing gear from punching tackle, umbrella rigs, swim baits, and you name it, there's really no reason for you not to be getting the best deal online today. So go to www.rustylures.com. Have you had the chance to fish the baddest hoochie on the market today? That's right, I'm talking about the Shasta Tackle Wiggle Hoochie, one of the most dynamic reaction trout and salmon lures that runs second to no other for pulling and triggering fish into striking. So I guess the real question is, are you catching all the fish you should be catching? Thanks for watching, guys. Now let's get back to some pre-spawn action.
So as I work this spinnerbait in and out of the cuts like this, what I want to do is when I can't jerk my rod tip, I want to flutter with my retrieval speed, and I'll show you. I want to get it in and out around those grass lines. As I'm not bumping anything, I want to keep it slow and try to bump along the bottom, and I'll twitch, I'll pop my rod tip, and then I'll just change my speed like that. And what it does, it keeps the spinnerbait fluttering around, and you can cause reaction strikes like that instead of just slow rolling it. Sometimes they will hit it on a slow roll pretty good, just slowly creeping it along the bottom. But you do need to try retrieval cadences, change it up with a bunch of different cadences until you really figure out what they want. The last 3 fish I hooked, the one big one I lost before that last big one, all came bumping toolies. So that's what I'm going to focus on, because the bite window can be a short time. What they're keyed in on for the first part of the day, it could be completely different than the middle and the later part of the day. So focus on how you got those results, what you did, and try to duplicate it as fast as you can. But you want to make sure you're matching exactly what you did. Don't get too anxious and start moving a little too fast and not really giving the spot an adequate amount of time, or not letting your bait get down. A lot of the time, first thing in the morning, you're much more patient. As the day will progressively go on, you'll become much more impatient. So you got to remind yourself to slow down and stay focused. All you need is really 5 good bites. Any day you go out bass fishing, and you can put up a killer bag. So you're looking for 5. Just remember that. You're not looking for 50. You're looking for 5. I may have seen one following it right quick. So now what I'm doing here is that same stretch where I lost that big one and caught that big one. I didn't really have any short strikes on the spinnerbait that I really felt. So I'm guessing there's not very many small fish on this bank, it seems like. So I'm going back through, reworking it with the drop shot now to see if I'm pulling smaller fish with the drop shot, or to see if I can get another big one to commit to it at the same time. What this is going to help me do, it's going to help me eliminate baits off the deck. Do I have to finesse fish to get these same big ones to strike? Or can I get a big one to strike finesse fishing off this wall? Or was it just a reaction deal on the bigger spinnerbait? So far I've been throwing this little drop shot back down the wall for about 10 minutes. I'm probably going to give this about 20 minutes of a little thorough time, just to find out if we have more active fish on here that didn't want to eat the spinnerbait that will pick up the finesse rig, or if I'm going to have to stick to the bigger bait throughout the day and just look for fewer bites. This is going to help me figure it out. Working through here with the finesse style bait versus a big reaction bait really help you put all the clues together. So we just rolled up to Disappointment Slough. We kept fishing Pixley for a while. It shut down on us. I'm right off the main river channel. Yeah, I'll even show you on the map where I'm at. I just pulled up, I threw this red spinnerbait, bumped a tule, then seen a big dark trailer behind it, and I saw the bass follow, and it came up, another 5+ pound fish, came up, ate the blade when I paused it. I tried to do right in front of it the last second to get it to hit. Grabbed the blade, didn't get any hooks, then shot out of there. But it's a lot cleaner over here. We got about 6 or 7 foot visibility over here versus Pixley where we're in about 3. We're getting to the bottom of low tide here, and so these fish are going to be holding on these outer grass lines, and with this cleaner water we get a much better visual on the outer grass line. So that was my intention, to move over here, get a better visual. You got to take longer casts and be a little bit more stealthy and get back off the fish so you don't spook them, but it makes it a little bit easier to target them on low tide in that cleaner water. So we ran up to White Slough. We're fishing over here. I picked up the drop shot again. We haven't scored a bite in about the last 2 hours. I'm gonna run back to Disappointment Slough, see if we can find those sparse tules to score a reaction strike. Drop shot and Dragon Senkos, nothing's getting bit. I'm asking a lot of the guys around here that are trying to finesse if they're scoring any strikes. They're not either. The only thing that seemed to be doing it was the spinnerbait bumping into sparse tules. And this area I haven't been able to find too many. It's low tide right now, which makes it more difficult because it's real shallow at the base of those. I'd prefer a little bit more depth, but we're gonna run around and run and gun and just find those areas, ram the tules with the spinnerbait, see if we can score a couple more reaction strikes. You know, we almost had a full moon last night, so I expected the bite to shut down in the morning and midday and pick up back after, you know, later in the afternoon. But if we can go score some of those reaction strikes, that's what we're gonna do. So instead of wasting time hoping we're gonna get bit finessing or throwing another bait out here, we gotta go with the clues that we have and try to bang it out. So we went and looked for more sparse tules. The tide's just so low right now. It's about 1:30 and the bottom of the tide was right around 1:15, and it's pretty much slack. So right now, fishing the delta, it's a lot different than a lake. You know, your currents mean a lot, and your fast moving water gets that active bite going, and when it sits dead still like this, a lot of the time you're not going to get those active fish to bite. So what I'm doing now is I took a P-line kicker minnow, a big swim bait like this, a 6-inch, and I'm fishing the north banks because these ones heat up faster over here. You know, first thing in the morning the sun's on them, they warm up. So a lot of those big fish that are not actively feeding but just want to get that warmth will tend to hold to these walls, and a lot of the time they're inactive. They're just sitting here. They haven't been searching for food. They're just warming up. So by me cruising this big swim bait through there, I have a high potential of running in front of one of them, and then they said, oh well, easy opportunity, I don't have to run, I'll eat it. I just had like a 10 or 12 incher shake me off on this. Nothing substantial, but it's slack tide right now. So that's what we're gonna do. We got slack tide in the middle of the day. We had almost a full moon last night. So our bite shutting off right now in the middle of the day makes total sense. It's been almost 2.5 hours now without a bite, but this is fishing. This is how it goes. This is bass fishing for you. But as soon as that incoming tide starts to come back, a little later in the evening, these fish are keyed into that evening bite with the high moon right now and the full moon. So that's what we're banking on, that the bite's going to pick up here shortly, and I'm trying to convert one big fish out of this system right here.
Aside from that one short fish, I really couldn't make it happen with the swim bait on this north-facing bank here. So what we decided to do was chase back after some tules adjacent to that deeper water, those ledges like that. We ran back over to Pixley. I found a couple more there, got a few short strikes, had a couple of big followers once again, and then hooked up with this guy.
There we go. Maybe a little over 2. Wow, that hook got him good. Look at that. Threaded his jaw. He wasn't going nowhere. I guess I could have lifted this guy. Not bad, not bad. Let me weigh him so I can get an official weight. I'm gonna turn back off of here. Hang on here. Then I'm gonna spot lock us. I don't want to lose my position in case we're on some sort of pattern right here. So I've definitely figured something out. 100% certain, even from this morning, the finesse bite is only producing severe dinks. The red spinnerbait, dunking them into the toolies, is producing bites every single time. The problem is it was so shallow earlier, we couldn't get in any substantial water. So as soon as we started graphing, the tail end, when the tail end of the boat was in 7-8 foot of water, and I was able to bump those toolies, bam, we get hit again. The trick is on low tide in the delta, finding those areas in pre-spawn to bump the toolies, because you know, I was running the spinnerbait down there on the outer grass line, twitching it, just couldn't get them to react today. A lot of the days you throw a drop shot and catch them just fine. But I couldn't get them to react out there to a spinnerbait, rip bait, lipless crankbaits, nothing. So we had to search out where we can find those toolies where we can ram them with those spinnerbaits, and here we go. So let's weigh this dude. Hopefully he's a little bit over 2 so we can put a decent bag together. Let's kick him. There he goes. So that put us at, we had 5.5 on the first one, and then about a pounder, and then that guy's at 2, so we're at 6.5, 7, right around 8, maybe a hair under 8 pounds right now with 3 fish. So hopefully we'll put some bigger ones in here. Got a big here. I don't know if he's counting towards the limit. He's 12 inches. I'm counting him for another pound. So I got 13 shoes right there. He's a perfect match to my shoe. 13, another keeper, that makes 9 pounds, 4 fish. And that's fishing with me, doing a little pre-spawn, pre-fishing pattern out here. You know, really couldn't get on anything substantial. We developed the pattern with thumping in with the red spinnerbaits, thumping the toolies, and Pixley Slough seemed to produce our better fish. The tides were a little bit off timing for what I wanted to do today, and I caught on to the pattern a little bit too late. Otherwise, I probably would have fished it for the first hour and stayed there until later in the day. We went back to 14 Mile Slough and hit that up for a little bit. Fished a couple other areas. I caught quite a few undersized fish, but ended up around, you know, 9 or so pounds. But if I were to come back out tomorrow, I think I could put a solid, you know, 15 to 20 in the boat. With a few fish that we missed, I think we had 2 3 to 4 pound fish come up and peck at it right at the edge of the boat, and a couple shake loose. So hey, you can't win them all, guys. That's Fishing with Nick. I'll see you next time.
Here's a couple more episodes for you guys to check out. I did a really thorough one on flipping and pitching here, and another trip I took out with Mark Lassane of Bass Angler Magazine. So check them out. A lot of fun episodes for you guys.